Hey Islanders, welcome back to another episode of Islander Robotics. As always, I'm Will, and today is a very special video. Well, today's video is a very special video. Reason being is because this video is the very first video of my YouTube Keyword Planner software series where I'm going to be showing all of you a real-world application of using Python. I'm going to be discussing each concept of the software in as much detail as I possibly can. Like for instance, today we're going to be talking about classes and objects within Python. But before I get into all that, I really just want to say thank you to all my subscribers. You are all truly awesome, and I am so grateful for all of you. I really just want to say thank you. For those Islanders that are not yet subscribed, please do consider becoming a full-fledged Islander. The reason being is because on this channel, we teach each other robotics through programming. So with that being said, why don't we start talking about what are classes and objects within Python? Well, they really are classes and objects in any programming language is a fundamental skill. Classes and objects allow your program to be not only more readable for the human person that has to edit the code, but it also makes your software a lot more robust than if you were not to use a class. And there are many reasons, and the more you start using classes in your code, the more you'll understand. But what I'm going to do right about now is actually go into a time lapse of me creating this code, and then at the end of it, I'm going to show all of you. I'm going to explain to all of you line by line what I did and why I did it. So sit back, relax with your favorite snack, and let's get started, shall we? Hey Islanders, I'm back and I have the class that we're going to be using for this software all set up on the screen. And the way that you actually define a class within Python is just by saying class and then the name of the class itself. So in this circumstance, I decided to call it helper, and also you might want to go check out the table of contents video for this series because there's a little bit of a contest going on. So click the link up on the screen right about now and get switched over to there so you can find out what the contest is. But anyways, we're going to continue on with the rest of the code, and then really on line 4 is the class constructor. And the way that you define a class constructor within Python is you just do def __ int __ and then in parentheses self. Self is a very interesting thing because it is essentially we are calling self, anything with self dot is considered a public variable within Python. Alright, so we are creating this self variable right here, and that is exactly what we're doing on line 5. Is we're defining a public variable for this class called self dot keyword _2, and it's going to be an empty list. Now you're going to also notice that there are actually two variables called keyword within this within this code on the screen, and they are both considered part of the class. The reason being is because they are both part of the class, but they also have different values within this class. Not values as in data, but values as in security wise, I guess you could say. Self.keyword _2 is actually a variable that we can manipulate however we wish to inside of this. Well, any program that has access to this class, we can actually maneuver the value as we wish. Where keyword is, we can't do that, and the reason being is because the way that you define a private and public variable or function is you actually have it not indented within the class. Alright? So since we don't have keyword indented inside of this class, but the class, anything inside of this class still has accessibility to this keyword up on line 1, that is considered a private variable within Python. Where self is indented within, keyword _2 is indented inside of the class, but it's also a self, so therefore it's going to be considered a public variable. Now, for those of you that are kind of thinking about just what would happen if I just did this. Well, if you just did that, the thing is you're going to actually, as soon as you get out of this class constructor, you won't have accessibility to that variable. All right. So the way to get around that inside of Python is you do it just like this. Now, this is my understanding how to define public and private variables or functions within Python. For those of you that have a better understanding and are watching this video, go ahead and leave it down in the comment section down below if there's another way. All right. But continuing on with the code, and because I want this more robust, I'm just going to comment this out. And I'm going to change you right here because I don't want anyone having accessibility to keyword. So I'm going to delete anything that says self.keyword _ 2. I'm going to replace it with keyword because I don't want people having access, so I'm going to use this keyword. You can use the other keyword if you wish. I mean, the code's going to be down in the comment section down below. Go ahead. I mean, not in the comment section, down in the description bar down below. So go ahead. If you want to use this keyword, if you want to use keyword _ 2, go right on ahead. But my personal preference, I want to use a private variable. So I'm going to continue on with the rest of the code. And from line 6 all the way to about line 14, there's really nothing too interesting going on. Really what we're using the constructor as is just to define the databases for this variable. You can actually have a pretty complex code within a Python class constructor, but there's no real need because we're going to be needing that. We're going to need that complexity in other factors of the code. So what we just did was we just had a little intro. Hello YouTuber, I'm a YouTube keyword planner, yada yada yada. If you want to read it, go ahead in the in the description bar, copy and paste this code and you're going to see the whole thing, but you're going to get bored if I start reading this off. So the next thing we're going to actually talk about that is important is we're actually going to be talking about count over on line 15. All right? And what this is actually we're getting user input. We're going to say input. With all of that being said, how many databases will you be using today? Because I personally, there may be some YouTubers that use one database, 2 databases. I use 3 databases to define what keywords I will be using for my videos, so I can get the greatest amount of, essentially, so that the information I'm trying to share to the world gets to all of the people that needs the information at the time. So I use 3. I want this software to be as robust as possible. So that's why I added this, because when we go down in here, we're going to create a for loop. Well, actually, let me go back to here. When you use input, it's going to, well, any value that comes out of input is going to be a string. So we're going to cast it as an int, which is going to convert that string number into a integer value, or well, you could also have a float, but we're just going to be, there's no half database. There's only 3 databases, 2 databases. I think there's some people that use 5 databases. So that's why we have that int, and we're setting count equal to that. And then we're just doing a simple for loop. For I in range of count, database, and we're going to say the same thing. Notice this one doesn't have int, and the reason being is because the value we want for database is actually going to be a string. Alright, so we're just saying here database equals input, and we're going to say what is the name of the database you'll be looking at today. Alright, and then whatever the value of database is during that portion of that for loop, we're going to append it on to keyword, and remember it's this keyword. Alright, and then just so all of you can see what's being imported, I'm just going to have a for loop where it's outputting the given data. Now the way some of you may be wondering, how do I actually use this class? Because let me just go over to here. If I delete that and then just run the code, it's just gonna do exit code. So the way that you actually define a class is you can actually do it one of 2 ways for a class. You can define it right inside of the Python file that has the class. You can just do key equals helper, and we can just run it. Run it just like that. Run Islander helper, and you get the same thing. I personally don't like it this way. I think it's kind of messy. And so what I personally prefer to do, and the reason why I had to go into this main file first, is I like to import into this file and pull the class out from that way. You are able to do that inside of Python. Essentially, we're going to be using Islander_helper as a library. So yes, you are able to do this, but you just have to make sure that Islander_helper is in the same file location as your main. Alright? Which is how I'm able to do from Islander helper import helper. And then just say key equals helper. Just like that. So we're setting key equal to the class definition, well, the class constructor of helper. In a way. Essentially what we're doing right here is we're taking this index of key and we're pointing it straight towards helper. And if we just do stop, come over to here, run main, same thing. Now you can go ahead and read this if you want, but what I'm going to be doing is I'm just going to really go over it real quick with all of you. Hello YouTuber, I'm a YouTube keyword planner, but you can also call me helper. I was created to make your headaches less of a pain. I do this by keeping track, and it goes over all the functionalities of what this code eventually will do. But the question that all of you are probably the question that all of us want to pay attention to is, with all that being said, how many databases will you be using today? Let's just say 3. Let's say Will, Islander, ISLN, and let's just say Bob. And then it prints it right out. So the class definition, the class constructor of this class works properly. Alright, so as far as this code goes for today's video, that's all I got. Next week's video is going to be about dictionaries and how dictionaries is going to take this software up another notch. So if you're not yet subscribed, please do consider that subscription button as well as that bell icon to learn more about Python, machine learning, and robotics. But with that being said, please do hit that like button if you enjoyed today's video so that I can get notified on how much all of you enjoy my videos. And if you have any questions, go ahead and leave it down in the comment section down below. And the code for today's video actually will be down in the description bar down below. So if you want to just play around with today's code, you can go ahead and do that. But that's all I got for all of you today. Thank you so much for all those that watched to this point. You are all truly awesome. And since you've watched the video to this point, might as well check out some of the videos that should be popping up on the screen right about now. I'm sure you will all enjoy. Thank you so much, and until next week, bye. Happy coding.